Hmm? Ah!
You're listening to the Run for Your Lives podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. I'm Daphne.
And I'm Pake.
And this is the Run for Your Lives podcast.
This episode, we will be talking about the post-apocalyptic film Elevation, directed by George Nolfi and released November 8th, 2024.
Wow, another newer one.
Recent, pretty recent. I hadn't heard about this one till I think a week ago as we're recording this. Where I was like, what's this? And then I saw like a trailer for it on something. And then I was like, okay, cool. That sounds like it fits. Let's do it. Because there's some things that coincide with other things going on right now. So it worked.
Yes. And I gave you the choice this week. I said, Pate, come up with a movie for us to cover. And this is what you picked.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's cool that Anthony Mackie is in it because he's got the new Captain America movie out. It's kind of great.
Yeah, so we're recording this. Yeah, we're recording this episode the week after Captain America: Brave New World hit theaters. So, yeah, it's a good time for some Anthony Mackie love. So,
Yep.
It felt right.
Yes. So we're going to kick this off the way that we always do with a few production notes. It was filmed in Gold Hill and Boulder, Colorado, with some parts being recorded at Copper Mountain Resort near and around the Timberline lift. I wonder what scene that was.
Who knows?
The screenplay was written by Kenny Ryan and Jacob Roman. The budget was $18 million. It grossed $3.3 million at the box office. It was 92 minutes long. Pake, give us a synopsis.
All right, and maybe one of the most vague IMDb synopsis I've ever... Synopsi? No? that I've ever seen that doesn't give much of anything, but also gives just enough to be intriguing. A single father and two women venture from the safety of their homes to face monstrous creatures to save the life of a young boy. Which, yeah, it's true. Doesn't give much away and is very vague about the happenings of everything and the relationships of everything. But yeah, technically,
well,
that's how it goes.
Yes, you're right.
And I like that. Which is good, because I've seen some, like, synopsis layouts that are just like, and then this character does this thing, and then this thing, and then there's this story, and then they do that. And I'm like, just tell me the whole movie at this point.
Right.
Come on. So, I'd rather have something like that.
It says they face monsters to save the life of a young boy, and it doesn't tell you anything about the young boy. Like, for all you know, the young boy is trapped somewhere and has radioed them on a walkie-talkie. Like, no one really knows until you get into the movie, like, what it's about. So I feel like, yeah, you're right. That's probably the perfect Pake synopsis, because it doesn't give you anything before you go to check out a movie. So I have a bunch of notes. I feel like there is a main character, so we'll definitely go down that road. There's a few other characters I have a couple of notes on. And then I have some notes about the Reapers, a.k.a. murder bugs. At one point, they were referred to as. So,
that's... one of my notes is just giant murder bugs. I credited that to Katie, and I was like, I like that one, Katie. That's a good one.
Yeah. It was great she got to contribute something.
Yes.
So just to set the stage, the opening of this movie, you hear things in the background. It's kind of like radio broadcasts and different things being stated, such as you need to stay above 80,000 feet. Everything below is being destroyed. Kind of made me think a little bit of A Quiet Place. But then once we got into it, I was like, okay, yeah, there are similar things, but it's different. There are some different things too.
Yeah, like it's in that same vein, that same style of like these like random creatures, which these are alien entities in a way. They're different, but also. So it is kind of similar in that way of they showed up, wiped out a bunch of humanity, and those who are left kind of have to follow a certain set of rules in order to survive. I think it's a little easier set of rules than like in A Quiet Place, but
yeah.
But it is a similar vein for sure.
Yeah, it definitely is. I like that we're given overall this, little world of outposts, basically. And then we learn that they're communicating via flags because they're trying to conserve electricity. All of this is above the line, which it's just referred to as the line. And I didn't get it at first. And then once we started the movie, it was like, okay, yes, I understand the line now.
My body's on the line.
So I did get A Quiet Place vibes. But I think we should jump in the way we always do with characters. And the main character is Will. He's the one driving this, all of the story.
Yeah. Although I have just as many notes, if not more, on Nina, I think, in some cases. But I think, honestly, it was kind of a shared main character role for me.
Mm-hmm.
To where I already, in my head, like, thinking ahead of, like, when we do our RFYL awards, that, like, at least to be considered for those awards. I don't know if these characters will, depending on what other movies we cover over the season, who knows whether they'll hold up to all the others. But it was already, I was like, well, if I have to make a list of who's main and side characters for the end of this season, like, they're both getting main character consideration in my mind.
Okay. I will take that under advisement.
Yeah. To where there was a point where I was like compiling my notes and I was like, is Nina my main character and I'm putting her first? I don't know. I'm not sure yet, but it levels out. Even
though they spend time together through like the journey and stuff, they definitely have their own purposes and stories.
Absolutely.
And arcs that in this adventure that they're on, trying, one is trying to save his son, the other is trying to possibly save everyone.
Yeah.
So
they find a way to tie those two goals into one trip, one mission. Yeah, but we'll start with Will, like you're saying, Anthony Mackie, which kind of his main goal, really what we see him trying to do is we meet his son, Hunter, who's got some kind of, medical condition where he's got to be on oxygen tanks overnight. He has trouble breathing. And his filters keep shorting out, and he's out. By the time, we get to where we've got to take this mission, his last filter has run out, and it's like, either we go get more or he dies. And so his son's life really is on the line here. And so his plan is he's got to get to Boulder, to the hospital, because when everything went down, when the Reapers appeared, cities were evacuated or killed, slaughtered, destroyed so fast.
Yeah, they were destroyed.
That nobody had time to loot things and take things, so he knows a lot of stuff is still going to be there.
Yeah.
So he's got to get down there.
Because you have to figure that there can't be a lot of people alive. I mean, maybe there are some people in hiding,
I think
but
Nina mentioned 95% of the human race
gone.
Was killed.
Yeah.
Like right away. So it is pretty big numbers there. So he knows that Boulder is abandoned. It's well below the line. It's below 8,000 feet. And so he's got to get down there to get those filters for Hunter, his son. And so there's this idea of like that's a suicide mission because you've got to go all the way, down into the city. And you've got to, you pass, there's like this whole open area between here and there that's all below the line. But he used to work in the mines nearby.
Mm-hmm.
And he knows the mines and the tunnels very well, and he has this plan. He says if we go through the old mine, there's only 2 times that we'll ever have to go below, right when we get to Boulder, basically, or like to get to the mine, and then when we get out of the mine to get to Boulder. He does not mention the fact that while they're in the mine, there's going to be a period of time where they would be below. We get to that later.
Surprise!
Yeah.
That didn't go over very well.
No, not at all. Yeah, and then basically he volunteers Nina for her. He tells her she's coming. As she mentions, her old lab is also in Boulder, and her kind of goal has been, as a scientist, she's been trying to study these Reapers, these creatures, and figure out a way that they can be killed and stopped. And she's come up with some ideas that sound pretty good, as good hypothesis, but she needs some materials and stuff from her lab, and so it's adds to hers. She needs to get down there to the lab. What better than to have somebody else with her, to have a team? At least first it's just her and Will, but have the two of them go down there. She's got somebody to watch her back, and they kind of, as you mentioned, having that, he's got to save his son and she's trying to save the world. Let's combine our two missions into one and go together.
Exactly. And we learned too that they have this history that he really doesn't like her, because this isn't the first time that she was going or trying to go to her lab.
Or she had another idea, it seemed like.
Yeah.
Of how she thought she could kill and stop these things, and it turned out she was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But the team that went with her all died. She was the only one to manage to escape, and that team included Will's late wife, Tara.
Yeah. And I think for him, he's very focused on living in the now and living, period. Whereas Katie, in addition to Nina, they're just kind of thinking about beyond the now and having a life and building a life and having or taking control back and taking the fight to the Reapers.
Yeah.
Because they can't stay where they are forever. It just, I mean, poor little Hunter is the only kid in this outpost.
Yeah, they're in
Lost Gulch Refuge.
Lost Gulch, yeah. Because I have my Hunter, I'll do all my Hunter notes, because I have to. Because we see him off the beginning, because Will's son, Hunter, he's the only kid, as you mentioned, in Lost Gulch. Which is why when we kind of kick off the movie, when we really start seeing things, like the first things we see in the movie is Hunter out on his own, and he has crossed the line. He's below the line. And, we're told that he wanted to go get a better vantage point to watch and see Red Rock Settlement, because there's a lot of kids over there and he can watch them playing, and he's lonely and he's kind of longing for something. Also, we learn that's kind of the area where he was at, that he was watching, where Tara and Nina and the other team were attacked and where she died. Yeah. So he also goes down there to kind of feel this closeness to her.
Yeah. And that's understandable. I mean, that's the last place that his mother was. And, I mean, given his health crisis, he doesn't have a guarantee of how much time he has. So he wants to have some joy in his life. And there's no one to play with it. There's no one to have adventures. I mean, he's just on his own.
Yeah.
And I felt like his dad didn't really understand that, or didn't get it as much, mostly because I think he's just focused on he's alive and that's all that matters. And I get that maybe as a parent, that is his focus. I'm sure it's his focus, and I totally respect that. I just think that at some point you have to start not just about being alive, but about the living itself.
Yeah. I think Katie says something like that to him. It was like, is it really living that we're just up here day to day scraping by, just waiting? It's like, we're hiding. We're trapped up here. This is like, she says, it's a prison to a lot of people, including Hunter. Like, it doesn't feel like a safe space. It doesn't feel like home. It feels like a prison that we're contained to and hiding away from these things in.
Yeah, because anything 8,000 feet or below is danger, potential or likely death. So they are kind of corralled into this space, and that's all that they get. And so I get, Katie was Tara's best friend, and I'm sure she's thinking about what Katie would want. And we get in these glimpses and flashbacks that Will shows us that Katie was very much thinking about the living, not just being alive. And so I totally get where she's coming from, where she wants to help, Hunter have these experiences, because he's only a kid and he's basically, growing up without any other kids around him. It's just not the ideal life.
Mm-hmm. A funny little thing I noted about Will, but also just Anthony Mackie, is this kind of a self-type cast thing that he does to himself. It was a funny little thing when they get, past the line and they're looking through these like army vehicles and stuff that are down there. And while he's talking to Katie, he mentions he's from Louisiana. And the first thing I think, I was like, Sam Wilson, his MCU character, also Louisiana raised. As is Anthony Mackie himself. He is a NOLA boy born and raised. So, like, it's just very funny that, like, he puts his actual childhood home into, like, multiple characters he plays, where he's like, he feels comfortable with that. He's like, yeah, like, why can't all my characters I play also be from New Orleans like I am?
It's so interesting. He did this interview, because there's not a ton of info out there about this movie, but he did this interview with the Colorado Hometown Weekly, and I know that you will definitely respect this comment. That Meow Museum, aka Meow Wolf Denver, is the craziest stuff I've ever seen in my life. Because it's like, as you know and I know, being at Meow Wolf, it's like surreal experience to just be in there. And that's something that stood out to me, is that he did that. But he talked about being in Colorado and all the things that they did when they were filming the movie. And
so what I'm taking from this is that the cast and crew of this movie took a Meow Wolf stop during production, which is great. I'm glad they did.
Exactly. He doesn't really miss Boulder that much, because I think, there's altitude that you deal with being in Colorado, and then going back home after, it was just different. It's a different, like, your breathing changes. He really enjoyed fishing, and he really enjoyed all of it. He definitely wants to go back, but he did also tell this really funny story about working out at a local gym, and there was a woman that was kind of like following him around, and his comment at first was, "I was surprised at the level of chill of everybody in Boulder. Maybe they were all high." But a lot of them weren't. He said, except for that one old lady in the gym, you know who you are and you're mean. And it basically is about this experience he had working out at a gym, and the woman just followed him around doing, I think, the same workouts and copying everything that he was doing.
So weird.
Yeah. So I thought that was entertaining. I'm like, huh.
Yeah, and the fact, because Colorado doesn't film a ton of stuff.
No.
So I feel like for like locals in that area, it had to be, because again, they filmed it last year. So it's like, he's well established as to who he is right now. So I could just imagine locals in the area be like, why is Captain America here? Why is like, what?
Yeah, I'm sure it is something very cool. They have filmed some things in Maine, but I've never been anywhere that they've been filming. It's mostly been after, you go to a place, it's like, oh yeah, they filmed that here, but I've never really been like near a set or anything when something's going on. So I'm sure for these people, seeing them all running around town must have been kind of surreal.
Yeah. It'd be cool. Yeah, I mean, I've never met Anthony Mackie, so I can't say for certain, but it's like, I get the vibe from him, though, that he seems like a really chill guy. He seems really cool. And I'd love to meet him at some point if I ever had the opportunity. But yeah, seems really, really cool. And so just to, hear him kind of talking about those stories of just kind of hanging out and doing Colorado things is fun. Yeah, good for him. He deserves good things. I'm just going to plug it now. If you haven't gone to see the new Captain America, go do that.
Yeah. We're planning to get there this weekend. Last weekend we had a snowstorm, so it was pretty much stay in the house. But we'll get back to the movie now.
All right, I guess we have to. We can't just talk about Anthony Mackie and Captain America in Colorado for the rest of it.
We could. I just don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, just they're on their mission. They're getting there. And, of course, that first low, below the line point that they have to traverse kind of goes by this. We talked about the lifts, the ski lifts there, where they filmed that.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of the Reapers catches up with them, and it's kind of this fight or flight in a way. Or did you run up the hill, or do we get this lift moving and take to the skies and get on the lift? Which Katie was just going to try to make the run for it, but Will and Nina decide it's better to make the lift run and we'll get there faster. And then without breaking down shot by shot, watch the dang movie. Watch the dang movie and you'll see it. But, so, the whole ski lift sequence was very dramatic and tense and action-packed, and I did appreciate it. I was like, yeah, that was really well done. I enjoyed that. Tense enough to be really fun.
Yeah, they learned that the... the grenades? They had a grenade launcher? Not effective, really.
No, yeah, I thought Katie shooting the explosives at the Reapers was pretty dumb. And then I had a thought. I was like, maybe she's drawing its attention to herself so she can buy Will and Nina some time to get what they're doing. But then Nina starts shooting at it too, and I was like, never mind. That's just, there goes that idea.
Yeah. I'm not really sure. All I could think is, Katie, your days were numbered when you agreed to go on this trip in the first place.
Yeah. Another Katie note where I said, and Katie's tagging along also because she has hero syndrome is really her, that's her whole explanation is like, I have to go because we have to do this and we have to do something great and we have to save the world and I've got to be there and Nina's coming. Well, I've got to watch your back. And it's like, she just wants to be the hero. And it's the only reason she's going. That and maybe Nina's jab at her about her
I was going to bring that up.
Tendencies towards Will might have some truth to it.
Mm-hmm. I think, she's probably right. I kind of got that vibe from her. That she was interested more than friendship with him. I don't think he was in the place for that. Like, I don't think it was something that he definitely wasn't in that mindset.
It takes a lot of time and a specific mindset for moving on with your dead wife's best friend. There's a whole...
Yeah, it's not something that I would think would be, top of the list to do. So I understood the jabs. There were these jabs between Nina and Katie a few times in the movie. Like, they did not get along.
Yeah. Yeah, well, even towards Will, that's just... I've got a lot of thoughts about Nina that we'll get to. But yeah, I'll touch on her character. But she was very prickly, for sure.
That is a great adjective to describe her. Prickly. Yeah. Yes.
I could be crass and just be she was a bitch. But and that's apropos. It fits. But without just being derogatory. Right. That's kind of that was her persona.
Yes.
But prickly is a nicer way to put that. Of she's...
It definitely is.
Because you definitely do kind of cut through that harder shell and kind of see who she is as a person over time, and you get to see those things. But we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Yes. Yeah, Katie did have that crazy moment when they were on the ski lift where she climbs up, and I'm thinking, is she really going to jump?
And she waited till too late to jump.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's I thought she was going to try to land on the lift, not... It's her plan was to be just too far out to have to grab his arm. That doesn't seem like a good plan.
No.
I don't know.
And all I could think is, I was picturing Velociraptors and other movies we've seen where the creatures jump up really high, and I just imagined that's what they were going to do, is jump up and get her anyway. And when it didn't happen, I was like, am I wrong? Is she going to survive?
No.
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 The answer to that is no.
No, definitely not. Nope. The story wasn't really about her.
No. Yes, they get to the mines, and as I mentioned, Will did not mention to the two women that his mine tunnel plan would take them below the line for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But, he figures since both ends of the tunnel are above the line, that this underground tunnel should keep them safe from creatures that originally emerged from underground tunnels.
Yes.
Yeah. Nina and Katie have every right to be pissed about that. It's very stupid.
Yeah. That's a really bad idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, not smart.
So you did not think that through at all, did
No,
you?
not at all. Yeah, I was not sure what on earth he was thinking when he devised this plan, because he didn't consider things that should have been on the top of his mind. Like, what they understand about the creatures. He should have, thought about that, or at least considered it, or brought it up and talked about it. Instead, he just kept it to himself until they're already there, and it's like, okay, fuck, here we are.
And then, of course, their mostly above-the-line tunnel is sealed off and welded shut. Mm-hmm. So now they get to go down a level and be below the line even longer than planned, and we see how that turns out. I was going to say, Falcon wasn't in the first Avengers, but he gets to deal with some Chitauri bullshit now, doesn't he?
Yes, definitely.
It's kind of what it looked like, kind of reminded me of in some ways.
Yeah, we're definitely going to talk about the creatures. I've got some thoughts on that once we get through the characters. I got some thoughts. This is, of course, when Katie decides to go rogue on her own and push through and end up getting carried away. Yeah,
that was just... My note was, well, fuck. R.I.P. Katie. That was sudden and sucked really bad. But okay, there she goes.
But not surprising.
No.
I expected it was coming. I honestly thought they might get her either on the ski lift or when they just crossed the line. Like, I thought that she was going to get grabbed. And I thought it was really interesting, the concept of these creatures. It's a hard stop at 8,000 feet.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like that, like, they don't even try to explain. Like, even the movie ends like, we still don't know why. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is fine.
Did you see the mid-credit scene?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. I figured you did your homework,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing. Yeah, what was I was going to say something and then... Oh, yeah. Just the idea is, like, you kind of knew something was going to happen to her. Because it was like, okay, Will and Nina are going on this mission. And she's like, wait, you need a red shirt in your team. Let me come too.
Exactly. As soon as she agreed to go, I knew it. Like, why don't you stay back with Hunter? It's safer here.
Yeah. Yeah. But they, after Katie, they make it through the mine back above elevation. Have a little bit of a breather, but not much, because they still have to deal with going down into Boulder when they get there. Like, it's like the easy part is now done.
Yeah. Now they're going to have to go down, get into the lab, and this is where the chances of facing more Reapers is incredibly high. You're going to face them, and you still don't have a weapon that can hurt them, and you don't understand them enough to be able to create anything at this point.
Yeah. So they find I guess they're still above elevation to some point, but they find like a cabin that's empty. And I was like, well, it is above elevation. Why would nobody be in that cabin? But I'm like, honestly, it's so secluded and out in the middle of nowhere that, like, if somebody was there at the time that things happened, they probably made a run for another settlement with more people as to not be isolated. So.
Yeah. I was trying to figure out, would I want to be in a settlement or off on my own? I don't know. I think there's benefits to both.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I think settlement. I think for sure.
Well, you're very much a people person. And so am I. But I also think it would be nice to have that place to go and be by yourself.
Yeah.
So maybe on the settlement with a secluded cabin as part of the settlement, just to have time away.
I'm at the far end of the ridge over there. You gotta hike to get to my place. Yeah, that would be good. Yeah, but their conversations and stuff in that cabin were good. For some reason, I wrote down just one little exchange that I really liked. I don't know why, but I really liked. It wasn't like an emotional one or like all the like personal stuff they talked about. it was just this back and forth that they shot at each other. It was really good, which was her explaining kind of her idea of what she was needing at the lab. And he goes, a magic bullet. It's not magic. It's science. It's a guess. It's a hypothesis with a healthy dose of wishful thinking. And it's just the way that it was tennised back and forth between them in that moment. I was like, I don't know why, but that exchange really pleased me. I liked that.
I wondered if they were, I mean, earlier, before we even get to this part, there's this moment where he goes to talk to her about coming with him, and they have the moment about where they ask about the alcohol. They're talking about alcohol, and he talks about how drinking keeps him from killing her because he really blames her.
How's the drinking going? Keeping me from killing myself. How about yours? Keeping me from killing you.
Yep. And you kind of understand where both of them are coming from, because I think she has a lot of guilt. And he definitely blames her. Despite the fact that I'm pretty sure his wife made the decision on her own. Yeah.
And that's another conversation they kind of have in that moment. Was it then in the cabin, or was it when they were... It might have been when they were in the lab, where they had that conversation. But yeah, I think it was in the lab at that point, where it was just like, you know, she's telling Will, yeah, I would hate me if I was you too, because I blame myself for what happened to her, because I did convince her to come along. And then he has this kind of weird line, which feels like a little patronizing, a little bit, kind of, you know, this like where he's like, well, I blame myself because she was going to go anyway, and I allowed it to happen. I was like, well, she's kind of her own person. Like, you can't demand your wife to stay home, woman. Like, that's not... But then he even says after that, he's like, but I can't blame myself for that either, because that's, you know, there's no point in us blaming, like, what was going to happen was going to happen. Like,
yeah, it was. She knew the risks of going on that mission. Yeah. And she went because she wanted something better for her son. She also knew that with Hunter's medical issues, they had to do something. Yeah. Like, it was, you know, living beyond the time that they had. Will seemed okay with it. He, you know, she even told him at one point, Tara did, that, you know, we've only got enough for this amount of time.
Yeah. Because that was, I think, the conversation they had right before she left with me.
Yeah.
Like the night before or something, where they talk about the filters and the stuff for him, and he's like, we have enough for a year. And it's like, okay, and then what then after that?
And he's just like, well, we'll have a year. We'll live the year. She wanted more than that for her son. Mm-hmm. You can't blame her.
Yeah.
I did appreciate the moments when they were at the lab and they had the conversation about Nina's family, which is more of a Nina thing, so maybe we need to wait on that. But I did appreciate that conversation that they had. But he gets there and he's able to get the filters. They have to kind of hunt around to get them.
The descent into Boulder, at least they had a truck to make things go a little quicker, you know, buy some time. Every second counts. And yeah, they're looking around and they've got to, you know, make the quickest time they can, but they do. They get the filters. And like right after that, it's like, and they've got company. Time to move. And then as they're running away from the Reaper that's like blasting through the walls and stuff at them, I started to think, I was like, is Will actually trying to run into and hit every single thing he possibly can?
I think so.
Like he's like smacking into like walls and knocking over things and crashing into windows. I was like, I feel like you had to like actually go out of your way to hit that. I think
absolutely. I didn't understand that at all. Like, you're Captain friggin' America. Right. Why are you bumping into things? And then I remembered that this is not Captain America, and you know, he's a human, so maybe that's just what humans do. They bump into things, Pake.
Yeah. Now his shooting the oxygen tanks, having those
that was badass,
sending the creature flying out the window. I was like, yeah, okay, movie. That was cool.
Yep, I liked that part. I really did. I also did not believe that creature was dead.
Yeah, I was like, maybe don't stand around looking at it to see if it's dead, and you know, take all the time that you have. Just go, move. And it, because after they left, it did eventually get up. Although I did wonder, There was a part of me that kind of was hoping that they would do it and wondered if it was going to pull a Michael Myers.
Ooh, that could have been fun.
You know, where they're looking out the window and it's laying there and they're like, I think it's dead. I think we got it.
And then it's gone.
They look back and then it's just gone. Like,
Yes, I think that would have been great. But it may have been hokey, and that's probably
a little
why
bit,
they didn't
but
do it.
Maybe. But me and my brain, because I thought, I was like, is that a little cheesy? Yes. Is it also kind of an homage to classic horror? Yes. So I think if I was in the director's seat, I probably would have ended up doing it.
Yeah, no. It would have been a great callback to Halloween. It would have been great.
Yeah. Yeah, and then down in the lab, and Nina's got her stuff to work on. Her original plan doesn't quite work, but she's got all of her equipment, and she wants to continue tinkering. To where she's like, this was my mission. Your mission is complete. You've got the filters. I still have mine. So she sends Will out, says, you go, and I'll be behind you if and when I get my thing figured out, if I crack the case. So he takes off, and then I was like, after going through all of that, to get bested by a flat tire. We are not going out that way, Cap. I mean, Will.
Exactly. I thought he might be like a goner and that this was going to end with Nina finding the backpack and going back without him. But then I thought, no, I don't think
that would have been so heartbreaking.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's going to happen. No, Nina. Yes. Saving the day.
Yeah. Which before that, I guess he's running from the Reapers out of the truck. The film nerd in me really, really loved this little sequence with the cool action drone shots circling him and following him. And then the classic, like the drone going behind the tree so they could cut different drone shots together to make it look like one shot. It's such a fun effect, and the film nerd in me was just like giddy the whole time watching.
It was great. It honestly, for me, made up for some of the effects I didn't like.
Yeah.
Because I thought some of them were, no. But I like the concept of everything. Even if the execution...
I have complaints about this movie if I have to. I just honestly chose not to address any of them and really take notes of them, because I'm like, what's the point of negativity? Sometimes we do get negative on movies and it's fun here. But this one had more positive than negative, and I was like, I'm in a happy giving mood today, so I'm going to just talk about the good stuff, I think.
And if Pake wrote his notes tomorrow, that could be a completely different story.
It could have been different. Yeah, who knows? I was just in a real good mood. Actually, I was in a bad mood this morning, but things turned around, so.
A bad mood?
Yeah, my heater stopped working, and I woke up freezing this morning because it was 20 degrees outside, and my heater... just decided no.
Wow.
Overnight. So that was fun. And then I'm trying to like get these little space heaters running while I'm getting ready this morning. And I'm just like, it's the best I got. And then I get out to my car to go where I'm going. And it's like the windshield wipers are frozen and there's ice all on the windshield. And so I can't do anything about it. It's like, I have to be somewhere in 10 minutes. And I can't get this ice off of my windshield. And I was like, it's just frustrating morning.
Yeah.
Then it turned around quickly and everything was good after that. So
that is, you know what? Those types of things happen here in Maine.
Yeah.
They definitely do. A couple of weeks ago on the weekend, we ran out of oil. Mm-hmm. It was not fun trying to solve that because it was freezing. Yeah, not great, but it can turn around and be better. So I'm glad that it turned around and that things were better.
Yeah. Because then, like, what I went to do today was great. And then that was all that went well. And then I got home and got my heater working again. And then that was great. And so I was like, all right, we're good. Now I can watch this movie and have a good time. So I was, like, in the relief stage of, like, everything's good again. So I think that helps.
Yes. That can change things for the better. If things, you get through it and things start to go better.
I was like, I got the heat back on. My car's thawed out. I have fried rice in front of me. It's a good day now. Let's watch this movie. All
right. Excellent. I didn't let the issues I had with the effects take me out of the movie. Because the movie itself I really enjoyed. I think there were just some things with the effects I wasn't happy about. But for the most part, I thought this was a fun watch. I mean, it was interesting. Yeah. The concept was interesting. It definitely
I
was.
enjoyed it. Yeah. So, those action shots and stuff, which then, right at the line, he gets cornered by 3 of them, and that, like, as I mentioned earlier in the movie, it was like, it's too steep of a part of the hill, like, to where he just couldn't get high enough without climbing, and they were cornering him. But then Nina, as you said, it looks like she figured it out.
Yeah.
Which I was like, man, how fast did she move and go? But then I was like, how long was he unconscious in the truck before waking up? So I was like, I can roll with that, because who knows how long it took, actually.
Well, you know what? She probably hopped on board one of those Reapers and rode its back up there.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
sure.
mean, maybe. I don't know. I'm thinking no, but, that could be an interesting thing.
You never know, so time for some Reaper fireworks.
Yeah. I like the concept of them getting shot and kind of imploding.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was cool. The first part of the implosion was the part I really didn't, but then it went like fireworks, and I was just like, yes, this is good. So it's just like the first part. Yeah.
And then she's got enough bullets and they can make more. I was like, do you get enough cobalt and the other
magnesium?
And so I was like, do you get enough of that to be able to really make enough bullets for it to be a viable option for people to fight back? And then I was like, don't overthink it. Like, just
well, we didn't really know how many of those creatures there are. Like, I don't know that they. I mean, I don't think they had a census on how many of these creatures existed.
Right. Yes, it's like, well, I guess, but they put it together, and then I do like kind of the ending where they're just, they've turned Lost Gulch into just this, like, Reaper exploding ammo factory. And they're just like, we're just going to build it all together and then send out soldiers. And I'm sure as they, like, spread out, and then they got to other settlements and then gave them the ammo and gave them the weapons and then just continued to spread. And I was like, the battle seems to go pretty well. We see the little map with the credits where populations are spreading back across the states and things are going good. Although on the flip side of that, it seems like they've gotten the attention of whoever was behind the Reapers in the first place.
Yes.
So that's fun.
Yep, there are 3 meteors coming toward them. Or meteorites. So I'm not sure. It's very open-ended. All I know is that Nina and Will were looking in the telescope, and that's what they saw. Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Will we get a sequel to this? Probably not. But I don't think it did very well enough to warrant that. But interesting enough. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought it was a decent watch. I think that the concept was cool and different.
And it was interesting to see, because there were the credits, that Anthony Mackie and Marina Baccarin were producers of this movie themselves as well as starring in it.
So they must have believed in the project to do that. And I appreciate that. I think it's cool when they get involved beyond just being in front of the camera.
Yeah.
I did like, too, that Nina had that very cool compass type thing that went off when the Reapers were coming.
Yeah. It's like some kind of like electromagnetic field reader that she could tell if they were within half a mile. So because there's that moment where I was like, all right, they're over the line. They have to travel a mile while they're below elevation. She can see if there's no creatures within half a mile. So it's something, I guess, better than going in completely unaware, but still dangerous.
Yeah, for sure. I was just really happy that Will got back to be with Hunter and that things are looking up for them. Because if he needs more of those filters, he's going to need to be able to go below the 8,000 to get them. In order to do that, they've got to kind of take control of this and take the fight to the Reapers.
Yep. Yeah, because that was a big thing between them. Again, like, Will and Nina had a lot of great little conversations that were quick, that meant a lot. Is after grabbing the filters at the hospital, she was like, okay, now we need to go to my lab. And at first he was like, no, we don't have time. It's too dangerous. We have the filters. Let's go back. And she makes a really compelling argument to him that immediately makes him go, okay, let's go to the lab. Which is where she says, like, okay, the filters that you're able to carry back up there, we get those back to him. That gives you, what, another 6 months? And then if you want him to live past that, you're going to have to come down here and get more and do this all over again. Or we go to the lab, get what I need, and my plan works, and we don't have to worry about that anymore.
Mm-hmm. She made perfect sense, but I also understand that he wanted to get home to Hunter.
Yeah.
It was a focus. Like, it was his mission was to get back to Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
So it made sense to me.
Yeah. All right. Nina. We've talked about some stuff, definitely in her relationship and things with Will.
Yeah.
But some other stuff as well. It was like really the first time we see her in the movie. I was like, reheated bullets. Delicious midday treat. And the way she just, like, her, like, hair's all messy and she seems to be wearing almost like a gown, just, like, out shooting at things. And it's like people look at her and just kind of, like, roll their eyes and back.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, that's just crazy Nina and her microwave bullets. Don't mind her. You know?
Microwave bullets. Oh, man. Yeah, I didn't really know what that whole thing was about.
Is her just trying stuff because she's trying to get through that scale to see what gets through them.
Yeah.
And so she was like, I guess the idea of that was if I heat the bullets up and they're hot, they will get through better. I don't know what she was exactly trying to do.
Yeah, me either. But she was working on it.
Yeah. It's just like any idea she can come up with. She's like, well, we'll see.
Yeah.
And then, we talked about, that, she was with Tara, Will's wife, when she died. So he's harboring this resentment towards her for that. And she's been studying, trying to find a way to kill them. Hence the heated ammo.
Mm-hmm.
Just whatever she can come up with. And I talked a little bit about just her character-wise. Like, she's... And it felt a little on the nose, a little heavy-handed at first. Where it's like, okay, it's like she's leaning really heavy. And like even like... It's like, is it Marina Baccarin? It's like she's doing what she can with the character, but it feels a little like, okay, we get it. I'm smarter and better than everyone, but I'm such a misunderstood loner trope that I was like, okay, I get it.
Yep.
Like, yeah, we lean really heavy into it. That not just the prickliness. It was just like they lean really far into the like, I'm a smart genius and everybody else is stupid, and it's like she's just very in that kind of personality. And then just a drama provider. And loves it. Has no problems just talking shit right to people's faces and she'll just say whatever comes to her mind. It just like there's no filter to like brain to mouth, where she's just like talking about Tara and saying this and like that. It's like just has no care for like pissing somebody off or saying the wrong thing. Like she's just gonna say what she's gonna say. Right there, like Will's standing there trying to like take parts and stuff off of these cars, and she's talking to Katie like, is it really me you're trying to fuck? Like, it's like with Will standing right there, and then it's like right after her, your best friend, his wife is dead, and it's like, you caused it, and then like fist fighting in the wilderness.
Yeah.
And it's just
a lot of drama. And Nina was a part of making it drama.
Oh, absolutely. It was kind of that trope character I was talking about, where she's I hate myself so much that everyone else should hate me as much as I do, to be sure, I'm going to make sure to give them a reason to, and I'm going to just be this terrible person and just lean into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I thought that as the movie went on and we got to see a little bit more into her character and what drives her, and then the conversation that she had with Will while they were at the lab, and there's this photo that he takes to her, and it's of her husband and her children. And she breaks down and talks about she was at the lab when everything went down. She chose not to go to her son's soccer game, and her husband had been traveling for 2 weeks, and she was tired of being a mom, and she wished she could have been there in their last moments. And he, kind of pushes her and says, well, what could you have done? And she just wanted to be there in their final moments to offer them comfort, it sounded like. And I think that she a big part of her personality is probably prickly and caused by the losses that she's had.
Yeah. No, it's what I had to say about that was, yeah, I mean, the picture of her family is what it took to break through to her, to show her human side. But it helped us, the viewer, understand the reason that she's kept that sturdy wall up this whole time.
Yes.
We kind of help understand that a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, she's had losses, and even though Tara was Will's wife, I think she felt that loss because people around her got killed when they were trying to do something for her. And that was a lot for her to have to carry, along with the death of her children and her husband. I mean, there was just a lot that we see in glimpses throughout, so that by the time you get to the movie, you have a better understanding of who she is and where she came from and why she's the way she is. Why there are those walls up. I think when people have those types of losses, they start to build the walls to protect themselves, because you, I think, start to feel like, I can't love anyone else because they always die. They always disappear. Yeah. And so if I put these walls up, no one's going to get close enough to me for me to care about them. Because it's the caring that hurts. That's what hurts when she loses people, is her heart hurts for that. And so she doesn't want to go through that again.
Yeah. And there's also this like self-loathing part of it too, that I think she hates herself because of the choices she made, whether it's what happened to Tara because she insisted that they go, or her insisting on working and taking a break from her family that caused her to not get to have her goodbyes, where she hates herself kind of the point that also not only is she afraid to get close to people, but she probably feels she doesn't deserve to have anybody love her anymore.
I agree. And I think that the only way that that will change is if she starts to break down the walls that she's built and connects with other people. She has to stop hating herself. And it takes a lot of work to do that when you're in that position, and it's going to take time. She's not going to all of a sudden be a happy-go-lucky person. It's going to take time for her to come down and, you know, be a functioning member of the outpost without being cranky and fighting with everybody.
Yeah.
It's just going to take time for that to change.
Yeah. I like seeing her, like, scientific mind a lot. They have, like, there's the scene with, like, the conversation between the three of them when Katie was still there, where they're just talking about, like, what the purpose of, you know, they're just running down, like, what are your theories on this? And Will has this, like, you know, maybe the Jesus freaks were right, is what he says. And, like, this is, you know, God's punishment for people doing this and that to the world. And then it was like, oh, they're predators and we're their prey. And I was like, I'm actually with Nina here, where she's like, well, if they're just predators, there'd be a survival reason for their hunting. And they would target the larger animals, but we're seeing herds of elk and bison and deer and horses that are completely untouched. They're only targeting humans. And it's like, there's something else going on. They're solely focusing on wiping out humans. That's a specific mission. This isn't a predator prey situation.
They're not eating people. Like, they're not consuming the kills. It's annihilation. Like, that's what it is. So I was happy with her arc. And also at the end, where she's still a complicated person, but she's definitely on the right track to starting to heal herself. For however long they have, because I mean, we may have more of those creatures coming.
Yeah, who knows?
Hope she's got enough cobalt and magnesium to make bullets.
Yeah. So just some other random notes I had. Yeah, cobalt, something makes the battery stronger, something more charge. Science mumbo jumbo, our way to the answer. Like, that's what it
was interesting, though, how they tied that in with what she was originally working on.
Yeah, with the batteries and stuff. Yeah.
Because when she looked at the batteries, it's when it all started to click in her head, and you could see that she was thinking, none of this is working. And then she looks at the batteries and, oh, And so she tries that, and that happens to work. At the perfect time, not because she was going to test it on a scale.
Mm-hmm.
She had to test it on an actual creature because there was a Reaper coming down the hall at her.
Yep.
The timing is everything. Timing there, then timing showing up to save Will when he's trying to get away from 3 of them. Yeah, timing was everything for this movie.
Yep. Yeah, her electromagnetic reader tracker didn't work underground for some reason. Which, adds to just, like, the tension of that. Also, just terrible joke that I almost didn't want to include, but then I was like, no, I have to, because it's so bad that I have to. Which is after they get out of the mine, and she hears a little sound bleeding and takes this, like, little motherly moment where you see some kind of nurture in her, and I'm like, Nina, this isn't time to stopping kid around. Kid. Because it's a baby goat. No, it's like I said, it's so bad that even I was like, I'm only going to include it because it's that bad. And
I actually liked the moment with the goat. I felt like it was that one moment that we got to see her actually being human.
Right. No, it was a good moment. It's just my joke was terrible.
Of course. Yes. You can't help it, though.
No. And then, the cobalt and stuff. And then just, magic bullets for everyone.
Yeah. Magic bullets all around. Magic bullets.
Not the blenders.
No.
But
no.
What if it was blenders that could stop these things? That would have been a twist.
Well, magic bullets, Pake, could also refer to something else.
Yeah, could. There's also another thing. What if it's that could have stopped them? That would have been a whole different movie.
Yes. And not one we would cover on this podcast. Oh my gosh. Do you have any more notes?
Let's see. I think I got all of my Katie stuff, all the Hunter stuff. Do I have any other?
I have Reaper notes. That's
Reapers. Yeah, like Reapers is my last section. Talked about the opening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with just like while over the opening logos, we're hearing like just voices and radio broadcasts and all this stuff talking about what's going on. And then it starts with 3 years later is when the actual movie kind of kicks off. The line, and then explaining that, and it makes sense with the title of the movie. That for whatever reason, the creatures cannot go above a certain elevation. They're very exact about it, as we see as soon as one of them is chasing Hunter at the beginning of the movie, and he barely outruns one and beats it past the line, and it stops right there, and is like, oh, home free. I was like, okay, well, I'll get you next time, you little stinker.
Well, and you do. You're wondering. It's like, what is with the 8,000? And then it really starts to come out later on, especially when she's blowing them up. And you see that they're made of like circuitry. It's like they're not a human. They're not like an organic creature. They're electronic, I guess. Yeah,
and you see that because they made sure to show a lot of shots of like herds of other animals and stuff, just living life, being free, being happy, and it's just like, so the Reapers aren't attacking any other animals willy-nilly.
No.
It's specifically, they hate humans. There's something there.
Yeah.
See, I was intrigued by them, because even like the little bit we saw of them, they were machine-like. Immediately I picked up on that. Like the light, even though it was like there's CO2 sensors and stuff, it's like they're lights, so you can see them from a distance because you see the lights coming off of them.
Mm-hmm.
And their scales are almost metallic. But they have the mind of their own, and you know what they made me think of? Not really, like at first they did, and then they look a little bit more organic. They look more creature-like. But it was like the machines from the Horizon video game series. Zero Dawn. Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah.
Forbidden West.
Yeah, I'd agree.
That's kind of what it made me think of. And then that sent me on little rabbit holes. Like, weren't they talking about doing like a Netflix series or something for that? And so then I had to go on. It's like, that still, it was like, okay, so Horizon Zero Dawn series has been shelved and they're not doing that. But now a feature-length movie is in production and in the works.
Okay, so I'll see that.
Apparently they're supposed to be doing a Horizon Zero Dawn movie. And I'm down for that if it's good.
Yeah. Such a great video game. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful.
One of my absolute favorite games of all, easily top 5 games of all time. Both of them are so good, and I cannot wait for the next one, whenever that is. But yeah, so I'm good with it. I used to be very scared of video game adaptations, but things have been getting better lately.
When you get things like The Last of Us,
which is another one of my absolute favorite games. And so, yeah, Last of Us for sure. Because I love seeing great video games that I love brought to wider audiences. So, like, I had already played both Last of Us games and huge fan of them. So now with the series, I kind of get to relive some of that with people seeing these stories for the first time through the show. And it's like, and it's done well.
Yeah.
Or even like the Fallout series was superb in its first season. So like, I really loved that. So it's like, okay, I have more hope for video game adaptations if they can be done right. So, hey, Horizon movie, let's go. I'll put a little bit of hope into it. Like, let's make it good.
You know that they're also making a God of War series. Yes, like that's in production, and I'm
another one of my favorites.
Excited to see what they do with that, because I've seen some of those games be played, and like you, I feel like the TV series adaptations have been decent or great, and I have a little more faith. They're certainly not like going back to Super Mario Brothers back in the 90s.
Right. There's, hit or miss stuff. Like, I mean, let's talk Anthony Mackie. Another video game adaptation. Twisted Metal. I never finished the first season. I need to go back and finish it because it wasn't bad. It was just like, I need to, because the cast, Anthony Mackie and Stephanie Beatriz and Samoa Joe. It's great. From what I watched, I was enjoying it. I just kind of fell off and I need to go back because I think season 2 is done filming.
It
now,
is.
So...
Yes, it definitely is, because Samoa Joe is back.
Samoa Joe's back on TV.
Yeah.
He's back in the ring. So yeah,
I get where that reminded you of those creatures from Horizon, because they did kind of resemble that. I liked getting the backstory a little bit, like they came out of the ground all at once. No one had really studied them or been able to study them, so they didn't know really how to kill them. It took out 95% of the world's population in a month. And them just killing things. They didn't kill anything else but people. And one of the ways they track you is through breathing, like the carbon dioxide. And learning that the shells are, impenetrable. You can't break through it. And so getting to see Nina succeed and blow things up was great. I loved the second part of the explosion when they just like went into like fireworks. It was very cool.
Yeah. And then after that, they're definitely machines. We get that for sure. And then at that point, I love that like, it was like it was programming. That's why everything was going on. It was like, programming by who? And then I love that she just looks up, and it was like this, she suggests like, they were designed and dispatched by aliens. And at this point, it's like, that tracks. That's perfectly acceptable as an idea. Like, we're just, at this point, we'll go with it. That sounds fine.
Yeah, whatever it's...
Even Will's not like, aliens. Like, he's just like, I'll go with that. That tracks.
Yeah. I feel like they're just giving us answers that make enough sense for us to be like, okay, sure.
I mean, that's kind of, I was already kind of assuming that pretty, like, earlier in the movie.
Yeah.
Because you put a lot of those pieces together. It's like they're just slaughtering humankind. They're not it. So it was like they came at a certain time, like they all appeared and killed. And it's like, very early in the movie, I was like, that sounds like an alien invasion story where the aliens have something that's planted on the Earth that kind of weakens everything and takes care of most of the stuff for them, and then they come in and pick up the pieces and finish the job, or, claim the resources for themselves after their Reapers have done the groundwork. Like, very early on, I was like, it's an alien thing. Got it.
It's kind of a War of the Worlds thing.
Yeah.
You know, it resembles that. So, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It was just different that they all came up all at once out of the dirt. So, like, they had been there for a long time. Or however long, I guess. Maybe not a long time.
It's a trope in science fiction and stuff that's been used a lot. You said World of Worlds or a lot of different like alien invasion stuff, or even let's talk MCU, let's talk Marvel, the Eternals.
Yeah.
That's, what's going on there in a way with, the Celestials and stuff. So it's a sci-fi, not only say trope as much as just like a common sci-fi storytelling device of alien invasion or, invasion from outsiders taking over, weakening the planet and before taking its resources or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. We've seen it. In, what? Was it Battle Los Angeles we saw it?
Yeah.
So it's common. It's definitely common. But I thought the concept of this movie as a whole was different. There were things about it that made it stand out from some of the others.
Sure.
I started to wonder if they just didn't like altitude. So that's why they didn't want to go any higher.
My ears hurt. We can't go any higher.
I feel like I'm walking through molasses. I can't do this. I'm too tired.
So yeah, it's just the pressure was in their heads. So if the Reapers would have ever found chewing gum, then people would have been fucked.
Yep. Absolutely. Man.
Although gum does not work for me with altitude stuff.
No.
It's gotten better. The more I fly, the more that I've been on planes, I've adapted and gotten better. But when I was younger, like the first handful of times I flew on planes, it would take almost a full 24 to 36 hours for my ears to actually like unclog. And it would, the whole first day I was somewhere, it was just a nightmare.
You know what someone had me do one time was put olive oil in my ears. Pake, it actually worked.
Really?
Yeah. I'm like, this is weird that this is working because I can't imagine that it would, but it did. Gum works a little bit, but I don't even bother anymore. Usually it's blowing my nose or something ridiculous will pop my ears. But at first, you just can't. Everything sounds like it's just muffled. Like everything is muffled that you hear. And it's just not, it's not ideal when you're landing and you're trying to do things.
Yep.
Well, we've covered everything that I had. Do you have anything else?
I am plateaued on this one.
Of
Reach
course
the heights
you are.
that I can on my notes here. That's
okay.
That's it. Oh, but we might have some feedback. We might have some thoughts. There goes the phone. So maybe we'll see if some listeners had some thoughts on this one.
Excellent.
All right, we have one little piece of feedback this week, which, hey, awesome. Any feedback's good feedback. And of course, coming through for us this week is Catherine, who says, Elevation felt like a combination of A Quiet Place and Sweet Tooth. I loved the Reapers and spent most of the movie trying to figure out what sort of creature they were. I assumed alien, but thought they were more biological than robot. I hope they do a sequel because I still have so many questions. Was this an invading alien race? Were they created by other humans using alien technology? It seems their only function is to attack humans, but why? Speculating so many possible scenarios is almost as fun as the movie itself.
Agreed. I don't know that they'll make a sequel because I don't think it did very well at the box office, but we can definitely appreciate some of the little nuances in this one.
Yeah, for sure. It was really cool. I did enjoy this one. As you listen to this, we had a lot of fun thoughts about it. So I'm glad that it seems you really enjoyed it as well.
So if you'd like to submit feedback like Catherine, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Run For Your Lives Podcast, or you can email us at runforyourlivespodcast@gmail.com. You can go to runforyourlivespodcast.com for all the links that you'll ever need. And if you're enjoying the show, be sure to tell your friends. We are available on all the podcast players, including Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. If you feel so inclined, give us a review on Apple Podcasts, as that is the best way to share the love and get us out there even more. We really appreciate it.
We absolutely do. Of course, speaking of sharing the love, got to give some shout-outs to the things going on in the Podcastica universe around us and beyond. Of course, right here in Podcastica, the cast of us continuing to get ready for The Last of Us Season 2 in April next month. Coming up fast. But until then, they are still continuing on with their Walking Dead rewatch. This week they are in Season 4 with Episode 10, Inmates. Also, Still Slaying has got their rewatch game going as well as they continue going through all their favorite Buffy episodes. And Angel as well. So this week they were doing Angel again with Season 1, Episode 6. Penny and Kara covering Sense and Sensitivity over there, so you can check that out. As far as new shows currently running right now, you can check out Yellow Jackets WTF for Season 3 of Yellow Jackets coverage with Episode 6 this week.
This season is something. It's definitely going in a direction, for sure. That's all I'm going to say.
I guess that's good. It's better than just spinning its wheels and doing nothing, so
Yeah, it's been fun. It's definitely been fun. Me, Penny, and Wendy are having a blast talking about it. Jason's going to be back with us, I think, starting next week for the last, 4 episodes. But, yeah, we've had a great time with it. It's been definitely thought-provoking, and I'm interested to see where it ends this season. I feel like it just came back, and now we're already over halfway through.
Yeah, shows are just over so fast now. We don't get those 20-something episode seasons anymore. But the production quality and storytelling quality has gone up in shows as so much as well that the shorter seasons still pack so much in there that you just have to wait, get you hooked, and then you wait. So much good stuff.
I think it's the trade-off, like you said. We're trading the number of episodes for higher quality, bigger production.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a fair trade-off. It's just sometimes you want more.
Yeah, but then there's so many great shows that it's well, at least I can spend that time watching more stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of more stuff, of course, White Lotus Season 3 running as well over on HBO Max. So you can check out Welcome to the White Lotus with Jenny, Randy, and Jason, covering that as well, episode 4 this week. And then the Marvel TV cast is up and running again right here in Podcastica as Daredevil Born Again is running on Disney+, and holy cow, it's been so good. I'm a huge Daredevil fan, like the Netflix Daredevil, and just a big Marvel person. And no spoilers or anything, but man, there were some worries or concerns or just kind of hoping things work out in certain ways. And with this new series on Disney Plus, it really doesn't feel new in a good way. It feels like a continuation. It feels like season 4 of Daredevil, and it has been incredible. Except, I guess the only difference is it's darker. It's even darker than Netflix ever got. 3 episodes in, and they just find a new way every episode to devastate me even more. So,
yeah.
And I'm here for the pain. I'm just yes, continue to hurt me, Marvel.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree that it feels like a season 4. And it is definitely darker, and yeah, they're trying to break my heart every episode.
Yeah, but it's so good. So good. So, definitely check that out. Jim and Kirk are running the Daredevil Born Again coverage this season over on Marvel TV Cast. Both incredible Marvel podcasters with a lot of great insight, so definitely give that one a listen. And then, outside of Podcastica, of course, we give some love to other networks and our friends over there. So, of course, the Pirate Core Entertainment Network, heralded by our friend Mark. Of course, got a lot of great stuff. He is also covering Daredevil Born Again over on Panels to Pixels, so you can check out his coverage there. And then he's got the What's On Tonight podcast on that network, but Becky and Mandy are running that one right now, covering the Max series The Pit. So you can check out their coverage of episode 10 this week. And then if you've listened to Jim and Kirk, and you've listened to Mark, and you still need more Daredevil goodness, which you should, then check out TV Podcast Industries, because Derek and John over there are also covering Daredevil Born Again, plus Invincible, which, of course, last night, if you're listening to this, 2 nights ago, at this point. Invincible season finale. It's been an incredible season. So it was a great run, great season. I love Invincible so much. So a lot of great coverage over on TV Podcast Industries for that as well. Just so much good TV in all the realms, in all the places. It's the golden age for sure.
All the shows are coming back. We had some that had to stall production due to the strikes, but now they're all back. And plans for like the heaviest hitters it's just coming. They're just going to keep coming out. It's going to be a really big year for television. Absolutely.
And I'm going to go ahead and I didn't talk to her too much about making any announcements, but you know what? Screw it. I'm going to do it anyway. Because I talked to Rima today. For those who know me on my other podcast, Strange Indeed, we've been off the air since Sweet Tooth, haven't we? So, been a while. There's a lot of stuff going on. Been really busy kind of picking and choosing what stuff we are doing. But if you are a listener of Strange Indeed, you know we have our flagship, or not flagship show, Stranger Things. Stay tuned for that stuff for sure. but we have our tentpole shows, I should say, is more the term there. Our big shows that we've been covering every season of, and our big points on there. And so, of course, those who watch those shows know You is a show that we've covered every season of, and its final season comes out next month as well. And yeah, so I'll go ahead and tell you now, me and Rima will be back with Strange Indeed to cover the 5th and final season of You over on Netflix. So stay tuned for that when that comes kind of near the end of April. It'll be a fun time. And then also Black Mirror, which we've covered a lot of the stuff of, comes back early April. I'm not going to give a guarantee that we will jump right on it as soon as it comes out, but stay tuned because it might be after our You coverage. But yeah, we love covering Black Mirror, so I'll be able to give you more concrete information and confirmations when we get closer to that. But yeah, stay tuned. So You is coming over on Strange Indeed for sure, and then we'll probably do some Black Mirror goodness as well. So stay tuned. And I'll be able to give you better information the closer we get. But I'm going to go ahead and tease it out and throw it out now. Yeah, stay tuned and listen.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've had, and this week on Strange Indeed.
Yeah. All right. Also, me and Daphne have our other podcast, Buffalo, that we have with our friends Jeff and Jerry, where take a break from the movies and TV shows and just try to make each other laugh. And me, Jeff, and Jerry try to make each other laugh while making Daphne miserable and roll her eyes and just cry from all the puns. But you know, we do the best we can every week with it, and we have a good time while playing some games, just getting ridiculous. And she sticks around somehow.
I do.
She hasn't been able to escape yet, so
I don't know.
But we have a good time over there, so if you want to go check that out again, that is Buffalo Podcast. But after you've listened to all of the wonderful, wonderful coverage that all of our friends are doing, you know you can come back right here next week to Run for Your Lives. We'll have something, sometimes say fresh and new, but not really. This movie's been around for a very long time, but we still like to do some old movies from time to time. Daphne, what are we doing next week?
Well, after the death of his parents, a young boy discovers that the local mortician is stealing corpses and transforming them into monstrous creatures. With the help of his older brother and friend, he sets out to uncover the truth where reality may not be what it seems. We are discussing Don Coscarelli's 1979 film, Phantasm.
Yes.
Yes. I am a Phantasm fan, and Pake had never seen it, so you'll have to tune in next week to find out what he thought of it.
Absolutely. So yeah, go ahead and check that out. Watch that movie for the first time, like me, who knows? Again, maybe the first time in a long time, who knows? But yeah, give it a watch, and then give us your feedback. We'll have feedback posts and stuff early in the week, next week on Facebook and stuff. Or just message us, email us. Daphne already gave you the spiel on how to do that earlier, so do it, and we'll get your thoughts on that one. It'll be fun.
Absolutely. And with that, we've reached the end of our episode. Thanks, everyone, for listening. I'm Daphne.
And I'm Pake.
And if you have to run, you better run for your lives.
Bye-bye.